Those that are going ahead.
Your name, no security. What's your name?
Sí, no, así lo
already enhanced. Mine is to support every aspect that you have gone on, and particularly for the Colombian countries, what we've entered with Brazil can be replicated easily in aviation, and our passport holders and diplomatic relation can be enhanced, and we work with the foreign affairs to accelerate that and move quickly. Particularly, Nigeria being producer of gas, oil and gas industry, particularly gas, we have other opportunities in agriculture and good ideas that you might be able to work with the bilateral agreements that you already entered into. We will accelerate it. We will not slow it down. It's good to have you come home and continue to promote, that the opportunity that existed for our country and the partnership around Africa. More so, now that the world trade is being battered by various tariff restrictions and alterations, we work of being a very good alternative market and a partner. This is a country of over 250 million people, and it's still growing at almost, 3% per annum. And it's a good market for you. Politically, we are related. Language that is a barrier has interpretation between us. It shouldn't delay us from moving forward. I hope you enjoy and make a productive end to this visit. Thank you very much.
En primer lugar, expresarle el mensaje de nuestro presidente, quien le saluda de manera muy especial, Gustavo Petro. En primer lugar, manifestamos nuestra solidaridad y nuestras condolencias por el sensible fallecimiento del vicepresidente en el mes de junio y manifestarle que Colombia hoy tiene una estrategia de reconexión con el continente africano. África, Colombia tienen lazos en común, tienen historias compartidas. Y como una mujer afrodescendiente, como bien lo dijo nuestro señor vicepresidente, tengo la responsabilidad, siendo la primera que ha llegado a ocupar ese cargo, de reconectar a Colombia con la tierra de mis ancestros que salieron un día de estas tierras en condición de esclavitud y que gracias a las apuestas libertarias que gestaron en nuestro país y en Américas, como lo hizo nuestro gran Mgbeke, hoy yo regreso en condición de libertad para conectar con su país, Nigeria, pero también con el continente africano.
Excellency, Mr. President, Chief Commander of the Nigerian military forces, please allow me to start my brief address by conveying our most sincere condolences on behalf of our government and our President, Gustavo Petro, on the recent passing of former President Buhari. I, of course, also convey the greetings of our President to you, and thank you once again for allowing us to meet you in this very special occasion today. The third thing that I would like to tell you is that Colombia has kicked off a very significant strategy to reconnect our people with the African continent as a whole. Africa and Colombia and Latin America as a whole share common historical ties. And of course, I, as the first Vice President of African descent of Colombia, I was indeed the ideal person to really lead this reconnection on behalf of our government, and I am therefore extremely proud to be leading this visit to the land of our ancestors. As you, of course, well know, our ancestors were taken away forcefully from this continent as slaves centuries ago, and thanks to the determination of many of the freedom fighters among our ancestors, such as Mgbeke, once mentioned also by the Vice Presidents, I am able to return here today as a free woman to reconnect Nigeria and Colombia and Africa and Latin America.
Señor Presidente, hoy hemos expresado al vicepresidente Chetima que Colombia quiere reafirmar el interés de consolidar una relación diplomática, comercial, cultural y de cooperación entre el sur global. Colombia hoy preside la presidencia pro tempore de la CELAC y como lo hemos manifestado a la Unión Africana, queremos que América Latina, el Caribe y África trabajen juntos en propósitos comunes, propósitos de paz, de desarrollo económico y social, de intercambio económico, de fortalecimiento de apuestas de paz, de justicia social y, por supuesto, queremos también trabajar de la mano de Nigeria en términos de justicia.
Mr. President, today, as we have discussed with His Excellency Vice President Chetima, Colombia has clearly expressed an interest to strengthen our commercial, cultural, and cooperation ties as countries who belong to the great family of the Global South. Colombia is currently holding the presidency of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, And of course, we told the leaders of the African Union a few days back in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, that we are really determined to strengthen the work that is currently being deployed to connect Africa with Latin America and the Caribbean in a much closer way. We know that we can work together on issues such as peace, economic and social development, the economic integration of both our regions, social justice, but also closely work on issues such as gender justice, because we know that both our countries are truly interested in making sure that women are more and more involved and active in decision-making spaces.
Hoy hemos firmado un memorando de entendimiento entre Colombia y Nigeria para avanzar nuestras consultas políticas. Esperamos que prontamente podamos establecer esa reunión y podamos definir de manera concreta nuestras agendas en términos de cooperación. Asimismo, señor presidente, le proponemos que podamos avanzar en un proceso que nos permita exoneración de visas para pasaportes oficiales y diplomáticos a fin de movilizar rápidamente nuestra cooperación bilateral. También proponemos como Colombia avanzar en materia de comercio en un acuerdo parcial que permita movilizar la economía entre Colombia y Nigeria. Por último, señor presidente, como mujer afrodescendiente, quiero decirle que tenemos un gran interés en intercambio cultural. Queremos que nuestra juventud colombiana y la juventud nigeriana puedan intercambiarse y puedan conectarse en términos culturales. Eso es una gran oportunidad. Acabamos de tener una reunión con un empresario nigeriano que está dispuesto en términos de conexión aérea a avanzar en lo que sea necesario para que Colombia y Nigeria establezcan una ruta clara de conexión aérea, tal como lo vienen haciendo con nuestro país hermano Brasil.
Today, Excellency, we signed an MOU between our two countries to kick off our political consultations. And we hope that we will be able to convene this meeting between both countries very soon and define our cooperation agendas. I would also like to mention, Mr. President, that Colombia is proposing the signature of a visa exemption agreement for diplomatic and service passport holders, which will allow us to move our diplomats and government officials in a swifter way to allow for better cooperation. I'd also like to mention that we are proposing a partial trade agreement focusing on some specific goods and services where both our economies may trade in a more active way. And lastly, of course, as a woman of African descent, I would be remiss if I did not mention the importance of cultural exchanges between both our nations. Of course, Nigeria and Colombian youths need to connect in a much closer way around culture, and we see a wonderful opportunity in this field. And allow me just to finish by saying that we just held a short meeting with one of your leading entrepreneurs in the airline sector, in the aviation sector, and it was clearly stated that we need to establish a direct airline connection as much as possible between Nigeria and Colombia, similar to the efforts that have recently been deployed between Nigeria and Brazil.
Por último, solo quiero decirle que Colombia va al racismo estructural. Restaurar la dignidad de los afrodescendientes en las Américas y en el mundo es parte de nuestra apuesta y en eso queremos trabajar con Nigeria y con el continente africano.
I would also briefly like to mention the fact that Colombia greatly commends and values the fact that the African Union has established the topic of historical reparations as a key and central topic for the year 2025. It's of course a wonderful opportunity for people of African descent, of the African diaspora around the world, such as me. We have been, as you know, suffering from the impacts of colonization, slavery and structural racism for too long, and we know that this clearly creates an opportunity for justice, for the people of the Americas, but around the world as well. And this is one of the key issues on which we would also like to work with you.
Señor presidente, quiero agradecerle la hospitalidad tan cálida que usted, el señor vicepresidente y su equipo de gobierno han tenido para con nuestra delegación oficial. Muchas gracias.
And of course, I will finish by saying that we are extremely grateful for the hospitality that has been granted to us by you, your Vice President, as well as the whole of your government team. And we'd like to thank you very much for this. Thank you.
Ties reinforced by cultural affinity and growing economic cooperation. Both countries are regional leaders. Nigeria is Africa's largest economy, and Colombia as a fast-growing hub in South America. Nigeria-Colombia Business Forum, which is going on right now, marks a turning point to expand South-South trade and investment flows across the Atlantic. Your Excellency, the snapshot of Nigeria and Colombia's trade in 2024, trade volumes were about $70 million. Exports to Colombia include crude oil, liquefied natural gas, agricultural commodities such as sesame, hibiscus, cocoa, ginger, and cashew. Also solid minerals like aluminum, fertilizer, and urea. Colombia exports to Nigeria coffee, sugar, confectionery, machinery and industrial equipment, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, and consumer goods. Opportunities for deeper cooperation and key investment and incentives include the aviation and connectivity. Based on request of Her Excellency, the Vice President of Colombia, before she arrived, to meet personally with the CEO of Air Peace, Mr. Alan Onyema. A bilateral meeting was just concluded in which, on the request of His Excellency the Vice President, he has committed to extend connectivity to Colombia based on the successes achieved by Mr. President's bilateral engagement in Ibasa from Brazil. So feasibility studies will be ongoing, and the outcome of that meeting is that by Q1 2026, we will have connectivity with Colombia. Other areas include agricultural trade linkages, agro-processing and agriculture, again, cocoa, coffee, palm oil, cassava, value chain development. Also irrigation, processing of food towards Your Excellency's ambitions for food sovereignty for Nigeria and export diversification. Hibiscus flower in particular is already being exported from Nigeria to Colombia, opening pathways for broader agri-trade partnerships. Textiles and apparel is another area. Digital services and outsourcing. As we know, half of the unicorns in Africa are of Nigerian extraction, and we're home to 120 tech hubs across the country. Nigeria's fast-growing fintech and startup ecosystem aligns with Colombia's strengths in BPOs and digital marketing. We've also proposed energy and natural resources, potential for collaboration, education and human capital development, and several other areas in the bilateral meeting held earlier today. MOUs proposed for signature at today's business forum included cooperation in agriculture, trade and investment, digital trade, SME capacity building, and cultural exchange. Some of these are still being processed, but the foreign affairs ministers signed an MOU opening up political discussions. So strategic priorities going forward include emphasizing Nigeria's priority on expanding and diversifying trade relations among mutually beneficial sectors, and encouraging Colombian companies to take advantage of Nigeria's market of over 220 million people to access ECOWAS. Your Excellency, they also met with the president of ECOWAS yesterday in their capacity as chair of the Latin America and Caribbean states, and also to the rest of Africa through the African Continental Free Trade Area, a market of 1.4 billion people and $3.4 trillion economy. So we've suggested joint ventures. We propose the establishment of a Nigeria-Colombia Business Council to serve as a private sector-driven platform to follow up on engagements. Your Excellency, over 60 businesses came with the Colombian delegation, and the best of Nigerian private sector were also represented at the business forum. So we invite Colombia to join us in shaping a new era of cooperation anchored on trade and investment. Mr. President and his team have been able to stabilize the Nigerian economy with significant reforms. The coordinating minister of the economy is here. Agribusiness, energy, innovation, to deliver real impact for our economies and for our people. Thank you.
Nation on earth by 2050 and will be the most populous nation in the world by the end of the century. Your Excellency, it's my singular honor and privilege to cherish forever to invite the Vice President of the Republic of Colombia, Francia Márquez, to give her remarks